What is up? You are here to learn about the power of the quarterly conversations. This is leadership development time created by Develop to Empower LLC, my company. I'm Charlie Ray, EOS implementer and executive coach. Let's do this. So, the biggest thing with the power of the quarterly conversations is let's start off with some clear objectives and an agenda. So, the first thing you guys need to know, why are you here? You're here to develop your mindset as a leader. Okay. Secondly, I'm here to help you be empowered so that you can enhance the execution of your quarterly conversation. Those are our two main objectives, and let's dive into what the agenda looks like for today. So, agenda, what is the quarterly conversation? I'm going to help you unpack that, why it's important, and then how do you effectively execute a quarterly conversation. Okay, here we go. First, what does it mean to be a great boss? I want you to first to take a step back and understand context. The context is this. Who's the best boss you ever worked for? I want you to describe them right now. Describe them. What made them good? What did you like about them? Right? What kind of environment did they create? How did they make you feel? Right? Seriously, hit pause on this video and do this exercise. Write down what is the best boss you've ever worked for. Okay, you're back from hitting pause. Now, think about the worst boss you've ever worked under. Again, describe them. What were the frustrations that they created? What kind of environment did they create? What made them not so good, made them a bad boss? And then ultimately, how did they make you feel? Hit pause, do the exercise. Now, as you're coming back here and you're thinking about the contrast and the comparison, what type of boss do you want to be? The context of all of this in the quarterly conversation fits into understanding what a boss is. And so here's the bottom line. A great boss is one that's going to create a healthy environment for people to thrive. And so here's what that means. People are fully engaged, they're highly accountable, and they're high performing. The ultimate environment allows for the employees, your direct reports, to feel seen, to feel known, feel valued, understood, and appreciated. That is the end goal. The best book on this concept and on this topic, which I'm pulling a lot of the material from that I'm teaching you on, is How to Be a Great Boss. Look at page 52 for an example of what I just talked about. So let's look about the four truths. You're trying to have a quarterly conversation, and we're talking about the context here of what it means to be a great boss. And so here's the context. Simplify. You don't have to overcomplicate it. To be a great boss, keep it simple. Focus on these four simple truths. You can keep it simple. Keep it really, really simple with how you go about and develop and empower your people. Be authentic. You don't have to be fake. Okay, let's not be fake. Model it. If you want to change somebody else, the best way is to change yourself. And so be yourself, bring your authentic self to how you lead and manage. This is a game changer. You got to care. If you don't care, I can't help you. No one can really help you. You have to care about your people. Your people are your company's greatest assets. So take some time to develop them, to really pour into them. Watch people care more about what you say than what you do than what you say. So be careful with your actions. Let your actions show your words are true. And then here's something, the final truth. And if you really want to be a great boss, you want to make a difference in your people's lives, you're going to have to want it. You got to put forth the effort. You got to want it, to be willing to go all in. Leadership and management is not for everybody. It's not for everyone. And so if you're watching this video, you're being proactive. I know that you want it. And the reality is that for the greater good of your company, for the greater good of your team, for the greater good of that individual, it's worth it. It is totally worth it to take time to develop and to empower them. So let's talk about LMA. All of this is still context. What is LMA? Leadership plus management equals accountability. Now, can you hold somebody accountable? Can you force them to be accountable? No. But what you can do as a leader and a manager, a boss, you can create the accountable environment. You can create accountability through the environment. More on that later as we talk about the 5 management practices, but you can't force it. People are going to do what they want to do. So leadership, the big distinction here, leadership is working on the business. I want you to think big picture, strategy. You're creating the opening, it's vision, it's planning. You're helping cast the vision. Management is working in the business. And ultimately, there is a distinction, there is a difference here. And so, planning versus the doing, traction, think execution. So, that's a little bit of the difference between leadership and management. You need both to be a great boss. All right, a little bit more context. So, the 5 leadership practices. Eventually, I will be doing a video on this. Be on the lookout for that. But the 5 leadership practices from a high level are these 5 concepts. Clear direction. You're constantly giving clear direction. You are giving clear resources to help them be successful. Think about your direct reports. You're giving clear delegation. You're letting go of the vine. You're learning to develop and empower them. You're giving them clear decisions for the greater good, and you're giving clear thinking time. You are doing it for yourself. You're providing clarity breaks and clear strategic thinking time for yourself. So we're not going to get into those today. We're really going to look at one in particular, and it's the management practice. Let's look at the 5 management practices. So the first one is clear expectations. Nothing matters if you're not clear on these are the expectations. If you are going to come here and work under me, this is what I expect. They need to know. It's unfair to your people if they don't know what is expected of them. And then, secondly, clear communication both ways, you to them and them to you. Clear meeting cadence, another way to say it is the meeting pulse. Think about the level 10 meeting, and a deep dive into the meeting cadence is the quarterly conversation. That's what we're here to talk about today. And then the last one is you're clearly reviewing, spending time to review with them how they're doing, recognizing them, and rewarding them. All right. So, how do you lead and manage? It's 3 to 7. Guys, keep it simple. Ladies, you're watching this video and you're trying to learn how to be a better boss. So, here's the reality it's 3 to 7 people that are underneath you. They report to you. If you have more than that, it becomes chaotic. It's very difficult. And so, I want you to imagine if there's more than 7 people that you are directly managing and leading, they're your direct reports, you probably need to rethink the accountability chart and restructure it. Reach out to me if you want help. Is there a better way to simplify the structure so that you can share the load and the responsibility of really, truly being a great boss and leading and managing with effectiveness? So let's get into it. Keep it simple. What is a quarterly conversation? It's one of the 5 management practices, first and foremost. And then, secondly, I want you to just keep it super simple at its core. Here's what it is: intentional one on one time. You're doing this to connect, to communicate with all of your direct reports about what is working and what is not working. So, it is a time to have an intentional one on one conversation where you're connecting, you're communicating with your direct reports, what's working, what's not working. If you get nothing else from this video and this teaching concept, please keep it simple. Focus on those 2 overarching perspectives. What is working? What's not working? Now, let's unpack it a little bit. When does it happen? Okay, it's in the name every 90 days, once a quarter. Ideally, you would go off site, and the key is that you want it to be consistent, planned out, prioritized, protected, and in a safe and comfortable space. That is important. So one of the leaders I was talking to the other day, they actually said this. They said sometimes the best way to actually say what's the right space is to ask them, "Hey, do you want to have a private one-on-one conversation in a little bit more, a space where we can have a little bit more private conversation, or would you like it to be more in a public setting, but you still have some of that one-to-one setting?" So, for example, you're going out to coffee or lunch or something like that, or is it a no? We need to have it where it's going to be a hard conversation. We need to have some privacy here. So allow them to have some flexibility and freedom. But here's the key: is it needs to be a focused environment. So if people are constantly on their phone and there's noise all around, that's why it just doesn't work well if you do it in your office. Okay, it just doesn't. At least take them outside the office, go on a walk and talk. That's a private conversation. You're walking and talking around the building. I mean, something to get you guys up and moving. All right. So let's look at some why. We've talked about what a quarterly conversation is. It's a conversation every quarter with each of your direct reports to look at what's working and what is not working. Okay, let's look at some common excuses. Charlie, I talk to my people all the time. Okay, I understand. I understand. I already have a meeting with my people every day. Great. That this is not a meeting conversation. I don't even know when I'm going to find time to meet. Your people are your greatest asset. You don't have time not to meet. I don't want to bring them problems. I want solutions, right? They don't need to just bring me a bunch of problems. I want solutions. Okay, there's a good point. That's a good point. I've been talking. They're not listening. I'm frustrating. Maybe you're the ones not listening. And so that is a common excuse. And then every 90 days is just way too much. Okay, well, when do you want to do this then? When do you want to have a conversation? 90 days is actually a really long time. So let's break it down. Let's break it down and let's look at some of the responses. Do you really, do you really talk to your people all the time? Do you talk to them about intentional stuff? Is it one-on-one? Is it really doing a deep dive, or is it sports, news, weather, surface level? Let's go deep with your people. They care about the company. Don't you want them to be successful? Don't you want them to go as far as they can in their career? Don't you care about your people? It's worth spending that time. You're not spending it, it's an investment. That's the whole point. You meet with my people all the It's not a meeting. You're having a conversation, an intentional conversation. It's almost like going on a date night with your spouse. Oh, I talk to my spouse all the time. Well, don't you think you should probably go on a date night at least once a month, maybe once a week? That would be awesome. Once a quarter? Once a quarter? Guys, this is part of your job. Okay, I really, really am passionate about this, as you can tell. In Traction, the book Traction, page 176, Gino Wickman goes into quoting the book Death by Meeting, and that's by Patrick Lencioni. And he basically says this, saying that I don't have time to meet, that's part of your job. You are a leader and a manager of people. Okay. Now, if you don't have people underneath you that you are in charge of, you probably should stop watching this video because this is a waste of time for you. I'm talking to you, the leader, the manager of people, the leader of leaders. It is part of your job. Imagine a surgeon saying, if I did, if I just didn't have so many people come to me to try and operate, I could get so much more done. I would love my job. That's part of your job, to meet with people. Okay, enough. I'll get off my soapbox here. Here's the reality is that you can actually 10x your ability to solve problems by building people to solve problems. Whoa, okay, here we go. Maybe you are the one not listening. Again, are you asking or are you telling? Are you the one that's constantly trying to solve the problems and fix them? 90 days is my last little rebuttal here. 90 days actually is a very long time. So what's the best use of your time is to invest in the people. Just test it out. If you've never done this, test it out. Maybe you only need to do every twice a year. That's fine. Find what works for you. What's the meeting cadence that works for you? So this is what it comes down to. Not finance, not strategy, not technology. It is teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage because it's so powerful and so rare. If you could get everyone in your organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. That is a famous quote from Patrick Lencioni in the Five Dysfunctions of a Team. Look at the introduction. So, managing your people is the root of team health. Everything comes down to team health. Do you want your organization to be healthy? Do you want to replicate the health that is on your leadership team? You need to meet with your people and inject that health. You can inject stress or you can reduce it. You can inject the team health or you can reduce it by avoiding your obligation and responsibility to meet with people. So it's up to you. No one else is going to do it. You must take responsibility for building and sustaining team health. It's up to you to be able to do this. Now, another reason it's really important is that when you are meeting with your people, it's an opportunity for you guys to have feedback, clear, open, and honest. This is a chance for you to develop them and empower them because for the greater good of the company, if they get better, they're going to make the company more profit. It's going to be healthier. This is again another opportunity for you and your direct report to stay on the same page. Not only to stay on the same page, to get on the same page, but to stay connected. Okay. Here's a reality check. Engagement, employee engagement is going down. And so people don't leave jobs, they leave a boss. They leave that bad boss. Let's go back to the beginning. Remember that bad boss that I asked you to think about? Why did you not like him? Think about it. Did you probably leave? Did they fire you? Did you quit? Probably. You probably hated it. You didn't work for them for too much longer. You left it because it was a bad, unhealthy environment. You have a chance, an opportunity to create a healthy environment to help them be engaged. All right, here are some additional reasons again. It's an opportunity for them to feel valued, heard, seen, and understood. Isn't that all what we want? Deep down, we're humans. We want to feel valued. My opinion matters. What I do, am making a difference in this company, right? For the greater good, you're helping them connect the dots. Help them connect the dots and see for the greater good what you're doing, Bill, is making a difference to the overview of our organization. Help them understand you're showing them you care. It's one thing to say you care, it's another thing to show them you care. Have you ever heard the quote, I can't hear you because your actions are screaming at me, right? And so the reality is that they're going to pay attention more to what you do than to what you say. So this is the opportunity for you to demonstrate that and to inject positive health in your culture. Okay, here are a couple other reasons. I got you. Don't worry. It's an opportunity for you to help them and for them to help you. That's right. You're going to be able to give feedback, but you're also going to be able to get feedback. And feedback is a gift. Take it. It's an opportunity for there to be reclarification. Maybe there's something about expectations or communication. When you think about the 5 management practices, and the 5 leadership practice, all of it can culminate into one conversation every quarter. Hey, how am I doing on the 5 management practices and 5 leadership? I'm your boss. Let's do a self-assessment. Let's check it. It's a checklist, right? And so ultimately, you're trying to meet them where they're at. This is another important point. It's a quick way to have an adjustment. There's no need to just only meet with those people once a year for the performance review and you're talking about money and performance. How about you meet with them at least every 90 days so you can make those adjustments? You don't got to wait for the end of the year. This is very, very important. It's a proactive approach. If you don't build your team won't get built. Okay? It's up to you. It's your team. You're the captain. You're the coach of this sports team. So take it serious. Spend some one-on-one time with them really proactively. And then this is my favorite concept here I've been thinking about recently. It's the ultimate culture projector and protector. That's right. You can project what the culture is by bringing up the core values and then protect it. So projecting that culture and then protecting it. Now, final thoughts. If you're feeling overwhelmed, like this is a lot, Charlie, I don't know how to do this, take it. Take a deep breath right now. Practice. It's going to take time. I want you to imagine the 2 areas of thinking about an analogy here. Riding a bike. The first time you ever rode a bike, it probably felt uncomfortable, it was unnatural. You started to fall. Get back up and you started to do those training wheels. Okay? So hop on your bike and learn how to ride before you do the pop and the wheelie. Focus on the basics. Just what's working, what's not working. You could literally ask those 2 questions, have a quick conversation, and that's it. You did it. Congratulations. Now, next time, make it a little bit better. Go a little bit more in depth, right? Imagine changing your golf swing, right? So think about any sport analogy. Tennis swing. You're hitting a volleyball. Pick your sport. Soccer. You're changing to hit with your left foot instead of your right foot. Basketball. You're making that correct jump shot. Golf swing. It's gonna take some time. It's not gonna feel comfortable. It's gonna feel uncomfortable. So practice. Have you heard this? Practice makes perfect. No, no, that is not true. Practice makes permanent. And so if you practice it over and over again, you're going to build that muscle, that discipline of making it the right way. And so how you practice is how you're going to show up on game day. And game day is ultimately you and that person sitting down for that quarterly conversation. You can practice it, right? And then improve it slowly over time. Okay, a couple of additional thoughts here. Uh, I want you to think about this as it's a conversation starter. Let's go back to keeping it simple. This is a opportunity for you and your direct report every 90 days to have an intentional one-on-one conversation. And so it's showing them that you care. You're helping them succeed. You're building a stronger connection. It's an issues identifier. And so ultimately here, you're trying to help them be successful. Shout out to Jill Young, EOS implementer, for some of these tips. But you're trying, big picture here is you're trying to smoke out issues on what's working and what's not working. And so that you can help them solve the root level issues for the greater good. You're trying to help them be successful to get unstuck. Okay, enough about the what and the why. Let's get practical here. You're here to learn about the quarterly conversation and how do you actually do it. So I have some tips for you. I have a little bit of a teaching track that we teach, and I've modified it based on the different articles that I've been reading and also based on the book and from firsthand experience. So schedule it. proactively. This is important because if you don't put it on the calendar, it's probably not going to happen. Prioritize and protect it. One of the best ways that you can really show your direct report that you care and you're serious is to prioritize it ahead of time and protect it. So when it's on the calendar, it allows both parties to prepare to anticipate it. And by being proactive, again, it's more likely going to happen. All right, here's another idea. How do you proactively prepare? So you're proactively scheduling it. Now it's on the schedule. You know it's coming up in a couple weeks. How do you proactively prepare for it? I want you and also I want them to consider these following areas. Think about the three areas. Remember, company core values. What are y'all's core values? And so you could have them do a people analyzer on themselves. You could do it on them. You could also do it on yourself, and you can have them do it on you as well. Think about your direct report. How are they embodying this? Come up with a couple examples. What's working well? What's not working well? Keep coming back to those two questions. What about yourself, right? Get them to think through those questions and you think through those questions. Now, at the end of the day, this is just a thinking tool. This is a exercise around, hey, let's look at the core values. How are you doing? You're trying to see how they're doing with a culture fit. And so it's a conversation around the core values of y'all's organization. So that's the first area. The second area I want you to think about is the five major roles. So there's five roles that they have on the accountability chart. And so you could look at it and again ask those questions. What is it that they are responsible for? What are the expectations? How are they executing on these? What's working? What's not working? What about for yourself? So you're analyzing them, they're analyzing you. You guys are having a conversation around the five roles. And then we look at the third area, which is the rocks. So I want you to imagine they have rocks because they do. They should have rocks. 90-day priority. What's a rock? A 90-day priority. Keep it simple. What are their quarterly rocks? What's working? What progress are they making? Where are they falling short? Where do they need help? And ask yourself the same thing. You guys can synergize and both help each other. So here's a pro tip. I'm going to randomly sprinkle these in. You and them can both go ahead and read how to be a great boss, chapter 8. Chapter 8 is a deep dive on the quarterly conversation. That's just a proactive way. How else can you be proactively in preparing this? Have them read the chapter on it. It will be really, really helpful. Now, the next part, when you're actually having the conversation, all of that's kind of been prep work. You've proactively scheduled it and you've proactively prepared. Now you're sitting there face to face with your direct report. Well, what do we talk about? Remember, keep it simple. What's working, what's not working? I just gave you a bunch of conversation things to think about. You could just pull those out and ask about the five roles, the five core values that you guys have as a company or organization, and then look at the rocks, right? And so don't overthink it. Focus on the first thing is to just celebrate. Start with what's working. All right, what are you most proud of from this last quarter? What processes are working well and how have you overcome any obstacles? So a pro tip here is you're asking them these questions and then you're generating their answers. So instead of telling them all the things that you think they did well and giving them lots of share praise and being specific, you're going to generate it first. So that's the first kind of idea here is what's working. And when you're also doing what's working, you're going to generate it, right? Give them permission to be open and honest. But once you do that, then you flip the script and you ask them to give you some feedback, right? Give them permission to be honest. They can ask you, what do you think is working well? So you can evaluate them and then they can evaluate you. It's kind of a two-way conversation. Now, when you do this, it's really important to consider how to listen. Here's how you listen well is you seek to understand. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. You want them to feel valued, seen, and understood. And how do you know they feel valued, seen, and understood? You ask them, hey, this is what I'm hearing you say. I really appreciate you sharing that. You worked really hard this past quarter and you put a lot of good effort in. I appreciate you, right? You're providing space and place for them to open up. So pro tip 3, you don't know where to start, go back to the values, rocks, and the roles, start there. And then pro tip number 4 is really listen, fully engage. Here's a quick framework to do this. Ask them the question and then listen. Pause, reflect, and then ask the new question. Before you move on, give them space to elaborate a little bit more. All right. Now, I want you to end with specific praise. So before you move on to kind of a little bit more of the critical side of what's not working, you're looking at some specific praise. So you're thanking them for their effort, you're acknowledging them, you're recognizing them and reminding them that they are making a difference. So a couple questions you could essentially pull in here is, you know, ask a few reflective questions. How have your recent experiences helped prepare you for a larger project or career advancement? You know, what are you most passionate about outside of work? This is an opportunity for you guys to connect and not just talk business and professional. You can ask them, you know, get to know them. How's your family? Get to know their family. I'll tell you what, people really care about their family. I know I do. You're watching this video, you probably care deeply about your family. And so if you and I were to connect, we could talk about our families, and that would be a really awesome thing that we could talk about that would deepen our connection outside of the professional world, right? So it would probably enhance when we switch over and talk about professional. Now, you've talked about what's working, and you've given them an opportunity to be able to have some specific praise, and now you're going to dive into what's not working. So now you're going to create a safe space and transition to what's not working. And here's how you do this. You want to give them plenty of space, allow them to evaluate themselves. So before you tell them all the things they're falling short in and all the things you'd like them to fix, think about first generating what is it that's not working. All right, be a great listener, be empathetic, be curious, genuinely seek to understand them. All right, let them speak freely. Remind them this is a safe environment. They can really be open and honest. Just let them pour it out. Don't fill the silence. Let silence do the heavy lifting, okay? Let them process and think. You can always respond with say more or what else. Now, when it's appropriate, you may need to help them identify the root cause of an issue. So you may need to help them understand it by saying, hey, what's the root issue in one sentence? And I want you to remember this: the people who actually care most about you and the organization, they're the ones that are actually going to have the courage to raise the issue in the first place. If they're bringing up a bunch of issues, probably because they care deeply about the organization. They're the most loyal, most likely, and they're probably the ones that are most likely going to tell you what's not working. So they're generally great people. Okay? Be mindful of that. Give them grace. Thank them. Don't tell them what's not working. Ask them. And then you can tell them after you've asked and had some great conversation. So here's a pro tip. If you get stuck and they just like, oh, I don't really know if I feel comfortable bringing this up, they are afraid of upper management. They don't want to be reprimanded or fired. So ultimately, they believe that maybe upper management is not trustworthy. They think the upper management does not have their best interests in mind. They don't feel it's safe. They don't feel like it's a healthy environment. If you don't ask them, they're not probably going to bring it up. So you must make sure it is a safe place for them to bring open and honest feedback. Otherwise, they're probably not going to feel like it's welcome. They may be apathetic. This has happened before. When I raise issues, it just really doesn't cause any change, right? So show them that, hey, I really do care about what you're saying. I really want you to feel understood and heard and valued. And so, you know, create the space, the opportunity, create the opening. Now, this whole time they've been sharing, you're listening, they've been sharing their heart, and you've been taking some notes because you want to help them. And so you're not taking notes to be able to use it against them. You're taking notes if it's helpful to help them. And here's what you're taking notes on. You're categorizing the issue. Let's look at category one, issues you must solve. So the first part that you're going to want to consider is practice extreme ownership. If the issue truly does require your input and authority, resolve it, right? Help them succeed. They're bringing it up because they need your help and they have their hands tied. They can't do it. The second thing is, again, if it requires your authority and resources, you need to accept and take responsibility. Think about that word, responsibility. It's the ability to choose your response. So you have a responsibility, the ability to choose how you want to respond to help them. Ultimately, yes, help them. That's why you're there, to help them be successful. Show them you care, not just by words, but by actually resolving the issue, okay? And then synergize. Sometimes you may not even be able to resolve the issue, so you may need to pick it upstream to the leadership team for y'all to be able to solve together, or maybe a department leader. The second category here is issues that they must solve. Now, this is really important. You must not enable them, you must empower them. As they're sharing this with you, you can instantly apply the 1-3-1 rule. Here it is in 30 seconds. Help them identify the one root issue. Help them identify what are three possible solutions. Generate it from them. Don't tell them. Don't give them solutions. Let them come up with solutions. And then if they had complete control and autonomy and authority, what would they do? What's their best path forward? 1-3-1. And then you guys can IDS around that and have some great topics. So this is all about an empowerment mindset. You're trying to empower ownership. Ideas are like little kids. Others are nice, but you like your own the best. And so when you come up with the idea, you're going to take ownership. And that's so true for them as well. So don't take the lead in solving their problem. Move it upstream if you need to, but ultimately, you're the one that's trying to empower them, not take the monkey on your back, right? The 1 minute manager meets the monkey, and Ken Blanchard talked about there's this idea of this monkey, and the monkey comes in and it's jumping on your back. It's their monkey. They came into your office and just gave you a monkey and walked out. So you're trying to take that monkey off your back, throw it back on them. So two quick tips here. Agree on a time frame. When will the issue be solved? And then what's the plan? How will they solve it? All right. Now, the most popular issue is ultimately the issue of cannot be solved. This issue cannot be solved. Now, it's going to sound like whining and complaining, and ultimately it might be, but you can't ignore it. You have to acknowledge their pain. They're bringing it up for a reason. So, acknowledging it is the first step. And then you must respond with clarity. Be really clear. Here's why this policy is in place. But you have to first consider being curious and compassionate and empathetic. So, you're asking them that must be really hard. I'd like to hear more about it from your perspective. Why do you think this policy is in place? And that's going to really help them understand the big picture. They may not even realize why this dumb rule is in place or why this is an issue. So you're problem solving, you're working together, and then you must try and consider, again, I can't recommend enough How to Be a Great Boss, the chapter on the quarterly conversation. I hear you. I know it's an issue. It's driving you crazy. Here's what I need you to understand, that this issue you're describing, here's the reason it exists, and it's not going to change. And I hope you can live with it, even though I know you don't agree with it. And so that's an opportunity. Most of the time, they're probably, especially if they're the right person in the right seat, this is kind of a test to see if they are the right person in the right seat. They probably will respond with something like, I understand. Thank you so much. I can live with it. Thanks for listening. And so that's where you have an opportunity to synergize and sync up and get on the same page with an issue that has been bothering them. You may not even agree with it. You both don't agree with it for several reasons, but ultimately it cannot be changed. And so you have to let it go and decide for the greater good we're going to move forward. Okay, hope that was helpful on the three types of issues. Now, before you move on, you've spent some time, you've looked at what's working, you've generated feedback, and then you gave feedback, and you were able to actually praise them and be specific. And then you talked about what's not working, and you were able to identify some issues and smoke those out, and hopefully have some resolution and discussion. And now it's getting close to the end of the conversation, and so now you got to be very vulnerable. And here you got to ask for their feedback. So tell them, hey, listen, Bill, I want to be a great boss. And so, in order for me to do that, I'm going to need your open and honest opinion. If you haven't hit this at some point in the conversation, then hopefully you're hitting it at least at the end. Reemphasize you want the facts. This is a safe environment. Don't take it personal. Feedback is a precious gift, so use it, okay? Encourage them to speak freely and openly. Remind them it's a safe place for the greater good. Tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. That's a great line to use. And then again, if you get stuck, it feels awkward to ask for feedback. They're like, "Oh, you're doing great, boss." Help them evaluate you by bringing out the 5 leadership practices and the 5 management practices, and just simply have a conversation with them. Hey, how do you think I'm doing with being really clear on expectations? How is our communication? And just walk through each one of them. So that's something that's really important. At the end of the day, you got to put on that humble mindset. Be open, non-defensive, and just curious. Be curious. Thank them, right? Do you really want to get better? If you do, listen and take notes for your good. So those are some different ways in terms of how to have the quarterly conversation. At the end of everything, When you finish this conversation, it is extremely important. The last and final phase is really to have clear action steps. Now, you already clarified some of that when you were solving those issues together during the what's not working, but there are certain things that you're going to want to get clear on documenting. So again, this is not a performance review. You're not documenting things to put in an HR file to then get them, right? This is an opportunity to document notes so that you can follow up on. Hey, in the next 30 days, we're going to have a conversation again around this topic, or I'm going to bring this into our next level 10 meeting, right? So that you want to be sure that you're maintaining regular accountability, and that ultimately happens with the level 10 meeting that hopefully you're doing with them on a consistent basis. So at the end of the day, what does success look like at the end of the quarterly conversation with your direct report? You and them are 100% aligned on what each of you will focus on in the next 90 days between now and the next quarterly conversation. All right, guys, bonus. If you know my style and you know how important reflections are, then this is not a surprise. End it with a reflection. So instead of just ending the conversation, okay, that was great, let's go. I would encourage you to try this. Try this. Even if you just take a couple of these questions, you don't have to do all of these, but reflect. Wow, it could have been 30 minutes to an hour, 90 minutes. I mean, you just spent an amazing amount of time together one on one. Don't you want to spend a little bit longer reflecting on it and making it even better for next time? So here's what I mean. Ask each other, take a couple 30 seconds and just say, hey, how are you feeling? And you answer that too. So both of you are sharing, oh man, I feel really connected. This was really refreshing. Awesome. Me too. What'd you learn today? Just in general, or maybe about the other person, about yourself or about the other person. So Bill, I really appreciated it learning today just about the value that you have with striving for excellence as one of our core values. And I really appreciated you stepping up and realizing that that's something that's really important to you. And I learned about myself that sometimes I actually don't value excellence as much as I like to pretend that I do. So I really appreciated you telling me that in the feedback. All right. What did you do well in today's conversation? Bill, today I felt like I was prepared and I did a good job trying to be humble as you gave me some feedback. It was hard to hear. What about you, Bill? What did you do well in today's quarterly conversation? And then how can you improve? So think about what went well, how can you improve? Next time, I need to be more prepared. I probably should do, Charlie, I probably should have done the people analyzer on myself ahead of time. So that would be an example. And then what did your manager or direct report do well? So this is now you giving some feedback. So you're allowing each of you are basically evaluating yourself and then you're have an opportunity to give it to the other person. And then how can your manager or direct report improve? So same type of thing, you're generating it first and then you're giving it. So, Bill, is there anything that I can do better? I'm your leader, I'm your manager. Is there anything I can do better to be able to better lead this conversation next time? And then overall, what was your highlight? So, those are just, again, some example questions of how to end it with a reflection. This is a bonus, so it's an opportunity to really solidify. If you get nothing else, it's how can we improve? What was our highlight? At least those two questions, right? How can we improve? So generate the reflective feedback first. This is a coach approach to how to have a better conversation and then give the feedback. Now, couple Q&A time. Questions and answers. Is this a performance review? No, not a performance review. Again, it's a conversation and this is something that you're doing 3 times a year. And then if you do have a performance review that you want to do with them, um, we would encourage you to actually adapt it into a one year annual review, right? So the annual review, and so in total you will have 4 conversations. One of them will be more of an annual review. So if you do an annual review, the form should be signed. It should be easily accessible. Keep it simple. Avoid discussing compensation separately from a performance review. I would encourage you guys just do away with the performance reviews. Focus on having quarterly conversations and keeping each other your communication lines really solid. If you do that throughout the quarter and throughout the level 10 meetings and each day, there's no need to have a performance review. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't fit in it because ultimately those conversations about performance are happening every week, right? On a weekly and daily basis. So um, There's a great format for this on page 128. If you want to look at it, it's a simple, really effective format. I'll kind of show you what it looks like. Also, great article. Look at the description. It's called Hill the Annual Performance Review, right? So this is some insights on the value of 24-hour feedback. Here is what it looks like in terms of the one-page annual review. So really what this comes down to is it's just a simple page. It has the core values at the top, and then it has GWC, and then it just has strengths, key accomplishments, areas that need improvement, a plan to get things on track, and then additional comments. And then you can sign it and they can sign it. And this would be something that you can put in, some sort of a file. So if you were able let's say they had a raise, they had a opportunity to go somewhere else in the company upstream or even go to a different company, you could be able to have a file, be able to say, hey, they've been here 4 years, here's their performance or one-page annual review forms. So it's just something that EOS Worldwide created because so many people were struggling with this idea of the performance review. So that's what it is. Encourage you guys to take a look at that. All right. A couple additional questions here is really just understanding the idea of what's the value, right? Why is it so important to recognize and to reward people consistently and quickly? And so here's something that's important. It's important because people crave timely appreciation. It drives culture and performance. What gets rewarded gets repeated. And so if you want people to continue to bring great energy to your organization, reward them, recognize them, review it with them, right? It's going to fuel engagement and reinforce this is what good looks like. This is somebody that's doing a fantastic job in our company. The sooner the better, right? Feedback gets lost, and so the power is really in the timeliness of it. And then when you give feedback, it's being specific, right? That creates clarity for motivation, right? Nothing like, hey, attaboy, great job. Great job on what? What did he do a great job on? Go back to core values. All right. Another thing that's important, here are a couple practical tips. So just three simple ones. 24-hour rule, do it within 24 hours. Publicly praise, privately pursue them. And so what that looks like is if they did mess up, right, have a little private conversation and then publicly, as they do stuff, publicly praise them. It's an opportunity to really generate some meaningful feedback. And you can also privately recognize them as well. It's really special sometimes. The final thing is there's a big difference here between a boss and buddy. And so again, speaking for me on firsthand experience, if you're naturally a people pleaser, you don't like rustling any feathers, and you want people to like you, this could be hard. And so it really does come down to for the greater good, you are their boss, you are their leader. So I know it's hard, but you got to let go of this whole buddy friend. Oh, everybody needs to work, love each other. Yes, like each other. Okay, not so much, but you need to love each other, and because you love each other, you need to stay in a clear hat as a boss, not the buddy. And so, if they understand that, they will be more respectful of you, and you're separating those clear boundaries of, hey, I am your boss, I am not your buddy. I will pursue and treat you with respect and dignity, and ultimately my heart is for you. Um, there is love in this organization, but I'm not your buddy, right? So that's going to eliminate the grayness of people getting away with stuff. All right, a couple other things. Pro tip in terms of thinking about feedback. So timely, truthful, specific, and positive. Great little book out there, 1,501 Ways to Reward Employees. So those are just some fresh ideas. You could say it, you could gift it, you could write it. There's so many different ways, but the key is just be specific, be timely with it. Now, when do you have a three-strike conversation? Is this the place to do it? And the answer is no. This is not a three-strike conversation that you're going to fire somebody, okay? Uh, that three-strike conversation, you follow your labor laws. That is documented, and I would definitely have HR involved. So here's how it works. Let's say somebody is not at or above the bar in terms of core values or the GWC or some issues coming up. Strike one is you meet the person, you identify the issue, you set a clear course of action, and you bring three data points. Really important. Every time you have a three-strike conversation, you bring in three specific data points because they can't wiggle their way out of it. So at the end of the day, if after 30 days you meet again, it doesn't have to be 30 days. It could be a week. It could be long. It could be 60 days, right? So it's up to you. This is just a general guideline, but you're bringing three more data points. You're seeing if they've improved, celebrating that they're getting better, or they're still getting worse. And at the end of the day, if you need to, 30 days later, you're having another conversation. So most of the time, they are probably not going to make it to that strike three conversation because they will self-select. They will actually leave the organization, which ultimately is a win. You don't want people that aren't a good fit there in your organization. Now, three data points. Why? Why use three? Here's a couple of reasons why. Ultimately, it's going to help you lead to clear decision, right? When the facts are clear, Peter Drucker talked about this. When the facts are clear, the decision jumps out. So having three specific data points allows them actually to see the truth. Yes, I'm falling short, and that's okay. We all fall short, so there's an opportunity to get better. And so it's showing that there is a problem. It's a problem that is a pattern. It's not one isolated event that was just a coincidence, giving them clear objective data. What do you want to do? Do you really want to work here? Do you really want to be here? Okay, some additional pro tips for you guys. So lock it in. Here we go. Almost done. Practice. This is a practice, so it's going to take time, just like anything else. Be present, be patient, be a great listener, be with them. Go off-site. Meeting outside the office is going to reduce distractions. Be vulnerable. The worst thing you can do is actually be guarded and to actually hold back. And so this is an opportunity where you can build vulnerability-based trust. Okay. Now, additional pro tips, be consistent, prioritize and protect it, as I already mentioned this. Note taking is helpful. You're encouraging note taking for them to take notes on what's helpful and for you not to use it against them, but to actually build that relational capital and then simplify the approach. At the end of the day, you're having a meaningful conversation about what's working and what's not working. Some additional tips, be clear. Again, this is not a performance review, not tied to a bonus structure or tied to some sort of deep dive on their day-to-day performance. It's a relaxed conversation where you're trying to really talk about, are there any elephants in the room? Is there anything we need to communicate about expectations? Start off with the context. So you could, again, say something like this. Hey, we're going to meet together. It's going to be, we're going to get on the same page. We're going to try and build some conversations. And then ultimately, I just want to make sure we're clear on expectations. So the way it's going to work is we're going to talk about what's working, what's not working. I'll hear from you. I'll give you some feedback, and I really would love to hear from you as well. And I'd like you to be open and honest and give me some feedback. We'll probably have a couple issues we'll need to wrestle with and figure out a game plan with, and then we'll end it with setting some clear agenda items. At the end, we'll also do some feedback, giving each other how can we make this even better for next time. So key here is if you get lost, just go read How to Be a Great Boss. Go read chapter 8. It's an amazing chapter on this topic. You'll get so much out of it. And finally, you are talking with them, not at them. End with clarity and confidence. It does you no good to end this conversation with, so where do we go from here? I don't really know. And it just ends. You got to be clear. Just like you end the level 10 meeting with a recap of the to-dos and the issues that were solved and cascading messages, you can end this quarterly conversation with just, hey, who's doing what and when and why and how, and be really clear. Make sure you guys are on the same page. So you're getting on the same page and you're staying on the same page. Okay, final thought. People will work harder for recognition than for money. So don't underestimate the power of positive feedback. Commit to it. In the next 90 days, commit to scheduling your quarterly conversations. Take 15 minutes to prepare. And ultimately, I want you to jot down a couple praises and questions that you have for them. And just aim to make this a cornerstone of your leadership rhythm. This is something that is so valuable. You are missing a tremendous opportunity for building and sustaining team health in your organization, one conversation at a time. All right, guys, keep it simple, test it out. Clarity comes through action. Keep on learning, keep on doing this. Um, you're going to get more by doing it. So if you get stuck, reach out to my phone number here, 979-353-0905, or you can reach out to me at charlie.ray@eosworldwide.com. Really appreciate y'all's time today, and I hope that you got a ton of value from this. Again, if you get stuck, please just reach out. I'd love to help one-on-one support. This is the power of the quarterly conversations. Quarterly conversations. This is leadership development time created by me, Charlie Ray, with Develop to Empower LLC. May God bless you. Have an awesome day.